Welcome to another PL Together Lounge Talk. I'm Adam Geller, founder and CEO of Edthena, the video-powered professional learning platform for educators everywhere. Today, we're talking with Lacrecia Terrance. She's the founder and CEO of TheEduProject, and she's also an ELA certified teacher who's taught math from elementary all the way up to high school. Lacrecia, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Adam, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I may have needed to put in your introduction there, but really relevant to what we're about to talk about, you're also on the National Faculty of PBL Works, which is the leading organization related to project-based learning. That's what the PBL stands for. I did, I guess, a good job there of defining the three letters, but I'm going to need you to define a little bit for our viewers, what is project-based learning? If I've never heard of that before, what should I be thinking?
Project-based learning. So I'm going to say it in my terms. So project-based learning is an instructional model that prepares students for the future through the process of projects, giving them experiences, giving them relevant lessons that just equips them for the 21st century.
So now if I'm a teacher and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I must be doing project-based learning. I have lots of projects in my class. Should I put a big check next to the PBL on my what I'm doing sheet? Or do I need to be thinking about something else before I can, say, oh yeah, I'm a PBL style teacher?
Of course, Adam. When I've shared before, when I first started teaching, long time ago, we're not going to talk about how long it was, but I thought I was doing project-based learning. I had students engaged. I had created all of these games for students to do. And I was up late hours at night, just creating all types of manipulatives and things like that for students. But when it came to the moment where students had to do state standardized testing and when they had to do the district benchmarks, my students were not succeeding. And so I was like, there has to be some type of disconnect there. I just really thought I was doing a great job at PBL. Then I ran across this company called BIE, which is the Buck Institute at that time for PBL Works before we transitioned over. And I learned that there was a structure to it. In order to have high quality projects and high quality planning, there was a structured planning that happens behind the scenes that need to happen before I actually introduce a project to students. And so in PBL Works, we have what is called the dessert project, and we have the main project. And what I was doing was more dessert. Most teachers during that time, we would call it an extension project. We teach this awesome lesson, and then we say, okay, we're going to extend it. We're going to play a game, or we're going to create a game, or, just something to that affair. But project-based learning, we actually launch a project and we continue to research within the project. We create things in the project. And so the project is the learning. It becomes the process of the cognitive learning that students go through.
Hearing you describe that, I'm realizing I may have served up dessert to my own students on one or two occasions. But I'm hearing from you that the kind of big difference with projects that may or may not be in the PBL frame is that when you're really implementing project-based learning, that the students are going to use that project to kind of discover something new. It sounds like that could be a good idea. I'm going to guess there's probably research that that's a good idea, but convince me. I'm skeptical. What's the advantage to project-based learning compared to maybe another style of lesson? Because, hey, I've taught the states of matter the same way every single year. Why do I need a project for that?
Right. So PBL, or project-based learning, opens the door to so many other things. We mentioned culturally responsive teaching practices. We also have, I'm going to say, any strategy or any platform that you have engaged in before. Project-based learning is the best practices of all of those put together. It's the integration of all of them being whatever works best for your student. What I really love about project-based learning, and I tell this to folks all the time, it allows students to become the owners of their own learning and their own journey, their process, and it makes it relevant to them. And so when you make learning relevant to students, what happens? They become excited about learning. And so in that, in doing that, we pull in collaboration, 21st century skills. Students become critical thinkers, all of those ideal graduate things that we talk about all the time. Oh, we want students to manage their learning. Oh, we want students to become critical thinkers. We want them to learn, financial responsibility, just the things that people talk about when they say, oh, the ideal graduate. And so they can't learn it unless we give them the experience of doing it. Another thing that PBL does is for so long, the pedagogy, we teach it to students, we teach the knowledge of it, and we don't allow students that time to apply what they've learned. Project-based learning allows that time where students not only can just apply what they're learning, but they research what they're learning about, which, there's a greater gain in that, because that's when you begin to close those achievement gaps, because I'm learning at my own level and I'm learning things that I enjoy, learning. And I hope that helps.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, what I was thinking about in that kind of description is the kind of empowerment of the student, that, the end goal here is learning how to learn, right? It kind of shifted why they were there. It wasn't about being able to prove you mentioned about financial literacy. Maybe it's of course, we probably care about the specific names of the routing number and the checking number and all those things. I don't know. Do we still teach people how to write physical checks? I haven't written a physical check in a long time, but you get what I'm saying here, which is It's not about the vocabulary words. It's suddenly about learning how to learn about finance as a topic that you might need in life. Okay. So if I'm a teacher and I'm feeling like the light bulb is going off, help me get started, because I'm going to guess I don't just introduce this project differently. I probably need to go do some learning. So do you have some kind of go-to best resources you would point me to kind of find my way?
Absolutely. So one, you can find some resources on our website, and we're building that library more and more each day. Another place you can go is the Harvard Project Zero. And so what they have is visible thinking routines. So you can go there. I always tell folks when they're first starting PBL or project-based learning is to look at the protocols, look at structures, because they find it hard to just say, oh, I'm just going to let students take over the learning. And it's really about how you plan. Everything is about planning when it comes to PBL. And so just kind of looking at those types of resources, as well as going to PBL Works. There's another company that I work with very closely, which is Adaptive X. And so they have lots of resources that you can use as well, just to kind of get started.
And for those that don't know your website, tell us what that website is again.
So our website is www.TheEduProject.org.
All right. Well, Lacrecia, we are going to take a quick break. For those of you that are listening or watching this conversation shared to you by a friend or a colleague, make sure you head to pltogether.org for the rest of this conversation with Lacrecia, as well as many others. Lacrecia, thanks so much for being part of PL Together.
Thank you. I appreciate it.